On 6 June 1944, off Normandy's coast, a vast Allied armada materialized before dawn. Warships, transports and landing craft stretched across the horizon, numbering over 5,000 vessels. German coastal commands entrenched along the Atlantic Wall observed this force and realized it was no mere raid. The United States led the assault under General Dwight D. Eisenhower's Supreme Headquarters, Allied Expeditionary Force with British and Canadian forces, integral to the plan. Germany, expecting the main invasion at Pas-de-Calais, faced confusion as 5 assault beaches, Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword, emerged along 50 miles of Normandy's Cotentin and Calvados coasts. The Allies aimed to establish a bridgehead with 156,000 troops landing on day 1. German reactions faltered. Their high command hesitated, misjudging the invasion's scale. Field Marshal Erwin Rommel's incomplete Atlantic Wall faced a meticulously planned onslaught. Allied air forces dominating the skies had already disrupted German rail and communication lines for months. The number that matters is 5,000 vessels carrying the invasion force. Deception operations like Fortitude kept German reserves fixed elsewhere, delaying their response as the Allies secured their foothold. Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, tasked with fortifying the Atlantic Wall under Commander-in-Chief Westfield Marshal Gerd von Rundstedt, faced a daunting challenge. The wall, a network of concrete bunkers, gun emplacements and obstacles, spanned thousands of miles, but remained incomplete in Normandy. Rommel's strategy emphasized stopping invaders at the water's edge, relying on static divisions and coastal batteries. However, only 50 miles of Normandy's coast were heavily fortified with gaps in minefields and wire obstacles. German High Command, deceived by Fortitude's false radio traffic and double agents, held firm to the belief that a larger Calais invasion loomed. This miscalculation delayed the release of armoured reserves, such as the 21st Panzer Division stationed inland. Allied planners exploited this error, ensuring 5,000 vessels could deliver their cargo without immediate armoured counterattacks. The constraint was Germany's fragmented command structure, split between Rommel's beach defence doctrine and Rundstedt's preference for holding armour inland for counterstrikes. Allied air superiority further tilted the balance. Thousands of sorties flown by fighters and bombers from bases in England targeted German infrastructure, reducing rail transport in northern France by 70%. Bridges over the Seine and Loire rivers, critical for German reinforcements, lay in ruins. Luftwaffe airfields, battered by pre-invasion strikes, could muster only a few hundred operational aircraft against the Allies' thousands. This aerial dominance ensured German troops in Normandy relied on disrupted communications with radio intercepts and damaged telephone lines, hampering coordination. The number that matters is 5,000 vessels, enabling the Allies to land 156,000 troops on day 1, supported by overwhelming air and naval power. German coastal units, primarily from the 7th Army's static divisions, were ill-equipped for prolonged defence against such a force. Their machine gun nests and casemated guns, while formidable, could not cover every approach along the 50-mile front. As the invasion unfolded, Allied airborne operations set the stage for the beach assaults. Before dawn, the United States 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions dropped behind Utah Beach, securing causeways and blocking German reinforcements from the Cotentin Peninsula. Paratroopers, scattered by high winds, seized key crossroads, disrupting German movements despite heavy losses. East of the invasion zone, the British 6th Airborne Division captured bridges over the Orne River and Kern Canal, anchoring the Allied flank near Sword Beach. These operations, executed with precision, prevented German forces from massing against the landings. Naval gunfire delivered by destroyers and cruisers pounded coastal batteries, softening defences before the first landing craft hit the shore. German commanders, receiving fragmented reports, struggled to assess the invasion's scale. The 15th Army, stationed at Pas-de-Calais, remained immobile, awaiting the phantom main assault. This hesitation proved critical as Allied troops began establishing beachheads by mid-morning. The German response faltered under pressure. Rommel, absent from Normandy during the invasion's opening hours, had advocated for armour near the coast, but Rundstedt's inland reserves were slow to mobilize. The 21st Panzer Division nearest to the beaches faced delays from broken communications and Allied air attacks which destroyed vehicles and bridges. By noon, Allied troops were pushing inland at Utah and Juneau, while fierce fighting continued at Omaha. The deception campaign's success meant Germany fought with one hand tied, unable to commit its full strength. The cold line German armor moved after 12 hours of Allied air interdiction. Allied planners, leveraging intelligence and logistics, had engineered a landing that exploited German strategic errors. The invasion's first day exposed the Atlantic Wall's vulnerabilities and Germany's misjudgments, setting the stage for a prolonged campaign in Normandy. Section 3, The Beaches Under Fire, Tactical Execution, and German Resistance, Previous, Section, Text. The invasion's first day exposed the Atlantic Wall's vulnerabilities and Germany's misjudgments, setting a stage for a prolonged campaign in Normandy. On 6 June 1944, the 5 Normandy beaches, Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juneau, and Sword, erupted into battlegrounds of calculated violence. The United States 4th Infantry Division hit Utah Beach, navigating shallow surf and sparse minefields, securing causeways by mid-morning with fewer than 200 casualties. Omaha Beach, however, tested the United States 1st and 29th Infantry Divisions against steep bluffs and entrenched German defenses. British forces under Lieutenant General Miles Dempsey assaulted Gold and Sword beaches, while Canadian troops targeted Juneau, each sector bristling with fortified villages and concrete gun emplacements. Allied airborne operations launched in darkness had already disrupted German rear lines. The United States 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions seized key roads west of Utah, while the British 6th Airborne Division held bridges near Caen, anchoring the eastern flank. 156,000 troops landed across 50 miles, carried by 5,000 vessels, their advance shielded by relentless naval and air support. German coastal batteries, though deadly, faced overwhelming barrages, crumbling under persistent Allied assaults. At Omaha, the invasion's bloodiest sector, American infantrymen waded through chest-high surf, dodging mines and barbed wire under heavy fire. German machine gun nests positioned on bluffs raked the beach, inflicting 30% casualties in some units. Engineers exposed to enemy fire cleared obstacles with explosives, creating narrow gaps for tanks to roll forward. Tank crews targeting concrete emplacements fired at ranges under 1,000 yards, suppressing German guns. Small groups of riflemen, finding less defended draws, climbed the bluffs, outflanking strongpoints. By noon, American troops began breaching Omaha's defenses, though at a grim cost. At Juneau, Canadian forces fought through fortified houses, losing 600 men, but securing beach exits. British units at Gold and Sword dismantled machine gun nests with grenades and bayonets advancing through coastal villages. German defenders, largely from the 7th Army's static divisions, fought tenaciously from prepared positions, but lacked reserves to counter the Allied tide. Allied fighter bombers flying thousands of sorties strafed German columns, ensuring no significant counterattack formed. The cold line Omaha's defenses fell after 6 hours of relentless assaults. German resistance, while fierce, was fragmented. Coastal units equipped with machine guns and anti-tank guns inflicted heavy losses but could not coordinate effectively. The Atlantic Wall's strongpoints, designed to repel invaders at the shore, were isolated by Allied firepower and infantry persistence. Naval gunfire delivered with precision from destroyers and cruisers silenced many batteries firing at ranges up to 12 miles. German communication lines, severed by airstrikes and paratrooper raids, prevented rapid reinforcement. The 21st Panzer Division nearest to the beaches attempted a counterattack near Caen, but was slowed by Allied air attacks and broken bridges. Only a fraction of its 100 tanks reached the front by dusk. Allied troops linking beachheads by afternoon formed a continuous 50-mile front, allowing artillery and armor to land. The number that matters is 5,000 vessels, sustaining the flow of men and materiel. German command divided between Rommel's forward defense strategy and Rundstedt's inland reserves, failed to deploy armor decisively, leaving coastal units to fight alone. Adversary point of view. German gunners trapped in bunkers watched Allied waves overrun their crumbling defenses. The invasion's tactical execution revealed German vulnerabilities. Allied engineers trained for amphibious operations overcame obstacles under fire, enabling follow-on forces to advance. At Utah, the 4th Infantry Division moved inland rapidly, securing roads for armored columns. Juno and Gold saw Canadian and British troops push through fortified villages using combined arms to neutralize strongpoints. Sword Beach, closest to Caen, faced stiffer resistance from German infantry, but British forces secured key bridges linking with airborne units. Omaha's breakthrough, though costly, relied on small unit initiative. Riflemen and engineers exploited gaps, allowing tanks to support the advance. German static divisions, lacking mobility, could not reinforce threatened sectors. Allied air forces dominating the skies disrupted German attempts to move the 12th SS Panzer Division and Panzer Lehr Division toward Normandy. By nightfall, the Allies held a fragile but expanding bridgehead, with beach exits secured for reinforcements. The German High Command, still anticipating a Pas-de-Calais landing, kept the 15th Army idle, a strategic error that cemented the Allied foothold. The German 7th Army, responsible for Normandy's defence, relied on static divisions with limited mobility. Coastal strongpoints equipped with machine guns and anti-tank guns inflicted heavy losses, particularly at Omaha, where 30% casualties marked the morning, but could not repel the invasion. Communication breakdowns caused by Allied airstrikes and paratrooper raids delayed orders to Panzer Group West. The 21st Panzer Division, closest to the beaches, managed a partial counterattack near Caen, but only 50 of its 100 tanks reached the front by dusk, slowed by bombed bridges and strafing runs. Allied naval gunfire, precise at ranges up to 12 miles, further disrupted German movements targeting artillery positions and supply depots. The Cold Line German armour advanced after 8 hours of air interdiction. Allied troops now linking Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword pushed inland, securing roads for follow-on brigades. Engineers cleared beach obstacles, enabling tanks and artillery to roll ashore, while temporary ports facilitated supply lines. Rommel, rushing back to Normandy, faced a grim reality. The Atlantic Wall, designed as an impregnable barrier, had been breached. Its strongpoints, though formidable, were isolated once naval and air support overwhelmed their defences. German doctrine, rooted in pre-war beliefs in fixed fortifications and rapid armoured counterattacks, crumbled against an enemy controlling the sea and sky. The 12th SS Panzer Division, moving from reserve positions, lost 20% of its vehicles to airstrikes before engaging. Allied fighter bombers operating from forward bases in England maintained air superiority, flying sorties at altitudes as low as 1,000 feet. The number that matters is 5,000 vessels, ensuring a steady flow of Allied reinforcements. German commanders, receiving fragmented reports, struggled to coordinate a response. Rundstedt's insistence on holding armour inland meant critical panzer divisions were too far to strike decisively on day one. Adversary point of view, German generals, paralysed by indecision, watched Allied troops pour through shattered coastal lines. The Allies' amphibious expertise shone through. At Utah, the United States 4th Infantry Division advanced 5 miles inland, linking with airborne units. At Juno and Gold, Canadian and British forces captured villages, neutralizing strongpoints with combined arms. Sword Beach, closest to the strategic city of Caen, saw British troops hold key bridges despite fierce resistance. Omaha, the hardest-won beach, saw American infantrymen secure the bluffs by evening, allowing reinforcements to stream inland. Engineers, working under fire, constructed temporary causeways, ensuring supplies reached forward units. The German 7th Army, stretched thin, lacked the reserves to counter this momentum. Allied air forces dominating the skies prevented the Luftwaffe from challenging the invasion, with German aircraft limited to fewer than 100 sorties. By nightfall, the Allied bridgehead, though narrow, was secure, with artillery and armour deploying to support the next phase. Germany's failure to release the 15th Army and its delayed armoured response handed the Allies a critical advantage, setting the stage for an expanding lodgment in Normandy. Germany's failure to release the 15th Army and its delayed armoured response handed the Allies a critical advantage, setting the stage for an expanding lodgment in Normandy. By the evening of 6 June 1944, The Allied bridgehead, though narrow, stood firm across Normandy's 50-mile front. 5,000 vessels anchored offshore continued to deliver troops, tanks, and supplies, sustaining 156,000 soldiers who had landed on the first day. The United States 4th Infantry Division, advancing from Utah Beach, secured key roads 5 miles inland, linking with airborne units that held causeways against German probes. At Omaha, the United States 1st and 29th Infantry Divisions, bloodied but unyielding, pushed past the bluffs, overcoming defences that had inflicted 30% casualties. British forces at Gold and Sword, alongside Canadians at Juno, cleared coastal villages, neutralising machine gun nests and fortified positions with precise infantry assaults. Allied air forces, flying thousands of sorties at altitudes as low as 1,000 feet, strafed German columns, ensuring no significant counterattack materialised. German defences centred on the Atlantic Wall began to fracture. Field Marshal Erwin Rommel's vision of stopping invaders at the shore relied on static divisions, but these were overwhelmed by Allied firepower and coordination. Coastal strongpoints equipped with heavy guns could not withstand naval barrages delivered at ranges up to 12 miles. The German 7th Army, tasked with Normandy's defence, lacked mobile reserves to plug gaps. The 21st Panzer Division's counterattack near Caen faltered with only 40 of its 100 tanks engaging due to Allied airstrikes. The 12th SS Panzer Division and Panzer Lehr Division, moving from inland positions, lost vehicles to fighter bombers before reaching the front. The Cold Line German reserves reached Normandy after 12 hours of disruption. Communication lines severed by paratrooper raids and air attacks left German commanders blind, unable to coordinate. Allied engineers clearing beach exits enabled artillery and armour to deploy, solidifying the bridgehead. The number that matters is 5,000 vessels feeding the Allied advance with relentless logistics. The Allies' tactical execution was relentless. At Utah, American troops expanded their foothold, capturing key crossroads to block German reinforcements. Juno and Gold saw Canadian and British forces push 3 miles inland, securing villages with combined arms, infantry tanks, and artillery worked in concert. Sword Beach, critical for its proximity to Caen, held firm as British units linked with the 6th Airborne Division, denying Germany a chance to flank. Omaha's hard-won gains allowed follow-on brigades to land with temporary causeways, ensuring supplies flowed. Allied air superiority, unchallenged by the Luftwaffe's mere 100 sorties, crippled German mobility. Bridges over the Orne dives, rivers destroyed by pre-invasion strikes, slowed Panzer Group West's response. German doctrine, rooted in rapid armoured counterattacks, proved obsolete against an enemy dominating sea and sky. By dusk, Allied troops had secured a continuous front with artillery batteries deploying to support the next day's advance. The German High Command, still clinging to the Pas-de-Calais deception, kept the 15th Army idle, a miscalculation that deepened their strategic crisis. The invasion's success hinged on Allied logistics. 5,000 vessels, operating with clockwork precision, landed thousands of tons of materiel from ammunition to fuel. Engineers constructed temporary ports known as mulberries to sustain the flow as beachheads expanded. German coastal units, now isolated, faced encirclement as Allied infantry outflanked strongpoints. The 7th Army, stretched across Normandy, could not reinforce every sector, leaving defenders to fight in place. Allied naval gunfire, adjusting fire via radioed coordinates, neutralised remaining batteries, while fighter bombers patrolled roads, destroying German trucks at ranges under 500 yards. Rommel, now on scene, recognised the futility of holding the coast, but lacked the resources to counterattack effectively. The Allies, with air and sea control, turned Normandy into a lodgment that Germany could not dislodge, setting the stage for a war of attrition they were ill-equipped to fight. The Allies, with air and sea control, turned Normandy into a lodgment that Germany could not dislodge, setting the stage for a war of attrition they were ill-equipped to fight. By the morning of 7 June 1944, the Allied bridgehead in Normandy had solidified across a 50-mile front stretching from Utah to Sword Beach. 5,000 vessels operating relentlessly offshore delivered thousands of tons of supplies, reinforcing 156,000 troops who had landed on the first day. United States forces at Utah and Omaha pushed inland, with the 4th Infantry Division securing roads 7 miles from the coast and the 1st and 29th Divisions, overcoming Omaha's brutal defences, which had cost 30%. Casualties. British and Canadian troops at Gold Juno and Sword advanced through fortified villages, capturing key terrain near Caen. Allied air forces, maintaining unchallenged supremacy, with thousands of sorties, flew at altitudes as low as 1,000 feet, targeting German armour and supply lines. Naval gunfire, precise at ranges up to 12 miles, continued to neutralise coastal batteries, ensuring the flow of reinforcements. Germany's pre-war faith in fixed defences and rapid armoured counterattacks lay in ruins. The Atlantic Wall, envisioned as an impregnable barrier, proved porous. Its strong points, once isolated, fell to coordinated Allied assaults. The German 7th Army, reliant on static divisions, could not hold against an enemy with superior logistics and firepower. The 21st Panzer Division, battered by airstrikes, mustered only 30 operational tanks near Köln by day 2. The 12th SS Panzer Division and Panzer Lehr Division, delayed by bombed roads and bridges, lost 20% of their vehicles before engaging. The cold-line German panzers moved after 10 hours of air attacks. Allied engineers constructing Mulberry harbours ensured supplies reached forward units, while temporary causeways at Omaha and Utah supported tank and artillery landings. The number that matters is 5,000 vessels, sustaining an expanding lodgment that Germany could not match. Operation Fortitude's deception kept the 15th Army at Pas-de-Calais, leaving Normandy's defenders without critical reinforcements. The invasion's success exposed German strategic errors. Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, now directing the defence, recognized the futility of coastal resistance, but lacked the means to counterattack effectively. Field Marshal Gerd von Rundstedt's inland reserve strategy, intended to mass armour for a decisive blow, faltered under Allied air interdiction. Luftwaffe sorties limited to fewer than 100 per day could not challenge Allied air dominance. Bridges over the Seine and Orne, destroyed by pre-invasion strikes, slowed German reinforcements to a crawl. Allied troops, now numbering over 200,000 by week's end, pushed deeper, with British forces eyeing Caen and Americans targeting Cherbourg's deep water port. The United States 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions, holding key crossroads, prevented German flanking manoeuvres, while the British 6th Airborne Division secured the Orne River line. Allied logistics, backed by 5,000 vessels, enabled rapid reinforcement, outpacing Germany's ability to replace losses. The German High Command, still misled by deception, hesitated to commit the 15th Army, believing a larger Calais invasion loomed. This error allowed the Allies to expand their lodgment landing, artillery and armour to support infantry advances. At Juno and Gold, Canadian and British troops cleared inland strongpoints using combined arms to outmaneuver German defenders. Sword Beach, a gateway to Caen, saw fierce fighting, but British units held firm, linking with airborne forces. At Utah, American troops advanced toward the Cotentin Peninsula, aiming to isolate Cherbourg. Omaha's beachhead Hard-Won became a hub for supplies, with engineers ensuring steady materiel flow. Allied air forces striking German columns at ranges under 500 yards destroyed trucks and tanks, crippling mobility. By mid-June, the Allies' lodgment, now a fortified base, signalled a shift. Germany faced a prolonged defence in France against an enemy with unmatched industrial and military power. By mid-June, the Allies' lodgment, now a fortified base, signalled a shift. Germany faced a prolonged defence in France against an enemy with unmatched industrial and military power. By the end of June, 1944 Allied forces in Normandy numbered 850,000 personnel, supported by vast stocks of vehicles, artillery and supplies, delivered by 5,000 vessels. The capture of Cherbourg on 26 June provided a deep-water port, enabling faster materiel flow to sustain the expanding bridgehead. United States forces, having secured Utah and Omaha, pushed toward the Cotentin Peninsula, while British and Canadian troops at Gold, Juno and Sword pressed toward Caen, a strategic hub. Allied air forces, flying thousands of sorties at altitudes as low as 1,000 feet, maintained air superiority, destroying German supply columns and limiting Luftwaffe sorties to fewer than 100 daily. Naval gunfire, accurate at ranges up to 12 miles, supported inland advances targeting German artillery and strongpoints. The initial landing of 156,000 troops had grown into a formidable army, outpacing Germany's ability to reinforce. Germany's strategic position deteriorated rapidly. The Seventh Army, battered by relentless Allied assaults, could not hold the 50-mile front. The Atlantic Wall's collapse exposed the folly of fixed defences against an enemy with sea and air control. The 21st Panzer Division, reduced to 20 operational tanks by mid-June, proved ineffective against Allied armour and airstrikes. The 12th SS Panzer Division and Panzer Lehr Division, crippled by losses of 30% in transit, arrived too late to dislodge the Allies. The Cold Line German reserves dwindled after 2 weeks of attrition. Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, coordinating a desperate defence, faced a fractured command structure. Field Marshal Gerd von Rundstedt's inland reserve strategy failed as Allied fighter bombers disrupted panzer movements. The 15th Army, still held at Pas-de-Calais by Operation Fortitude's deception, remained uselessly distant. The number that matters is 5,000 vessels, ensuring an unending stream of Allied reinforcements and supplies. The Allies' logistical machine drove their success. Mulberry harbours, engineered to withstand channel storms, facilitated the landing of thousands of tons of material daily. At Utah, the United States 4th Infantry Division advanced 10 miles inland, securing the Cotentin Peninsula. Omaha's beachhead, once a slaughter, became a supply hub, with engineers maintaining causeways under sporadic shelling. British forces at Sword and Gold, alongside Canadians at Juneau, captured key towns, though Caen's outskirts resisted fiercely. The United States 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions held critical roads, preventing German counterattacks, while the British 6th Airborne Division secured the Orne River line. Allied artillery, now deployed in strength, pounded German positions, while tanks engaged panzers at ranges under 1,000 yards. Air forces striking at 500 yards destroyed German trucks and armour, ensuring no cohesive counteroffensive formed. Germany, unable to replace losses, faced a grinding battle of attrition it could not win. The Normandy landings marked a decisive shift. From 6 June 1944, the initiative in Western Europe passed irrevocably to the Allies. The United States, alongside British and Canadian forces, re-established a major ground presence, complementing the Soviet Union's eastern offensive. Germany's miscalculations, clinging to Pas-de-Calais, relying on static defences and failing to unify command, sealed its fate. The Allies' lodgment, now a springboard, grew daily, with 850,000 troops by June's end, supported by unmatched logistics. 5,000 vessels, the backbone of the invasion, ensured supplies flowed faster than Germany could respond. The Western Front, once a German stronghold, became a battlefield, where Allied industrial might and tactical coordination prevailed. Germany, stretched across 2 fronts, could no longer hope for victory against the combined power of the Western Allies and the Soviet Union, facing inevitable defeat in a war of resources and resolve.